Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Oops, sorry.
No, you certainly keep track of the quality of your folks, and hope you do. Years ago, I used to do taxes, and at the time, not just me, other people felt, compared to the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, because obviously we dealt with them both, that if you talk to your guys on the phone, they weren't always the sharpest. They didn't know their own laws. You'd call them 3 times, you get 3 different answers. Well, you call them twice, you get 2 different answers anyway. Do you monitor the quality of your folks? And I haven't done taxes for 20 years, but do you have an opinion as to whether your folks know what the law is?
Yeah, actually, we do monitor every call is can be monitored. We have a quality review system that statistically selects calls at random for quality assurance, and during that process we determine whether one of the main things we're looking for is did the taxpayer get the correct answer, actually we do quite well there. So if you get through to us, you're going to get pretty high quality. I'm sorry, no, yeah.
Is it improved over time?
It's really been pretty stable over time in the high 90% range.
How long have you been monitoring it?
At least 20 years. And 20 years ago, it was actually quite low. Probably for the last 10 or 15 years, it's been quite high.
Better than 20 years ago, you've improved. Some of the stuff they want to know here is the amount that can be spent traveling by employees. And, it says here federal employees can spend over $7,000 per month on lodging. Do you keep track of that, or what is your travel policy for your people when they get around?
Well, travel policy isn't set by the IRS. It's set by, government-wide by
Right, I understand.
By the GSA. So we do monitor, and we actually monitor how many people are traveling at any time and how long they're traveling, and we don't generally have very many people traveling for extended periods unless they're on some project, but that's typically what we monitor.
And how does it work? If somebody goes out there for a week or whatever, how much are they allowed to spend? Who determines where they stay? That sort of thing.
That's based on the per diem rates. So if they find a place to stay within the per diem rates, then we don't ask them, where they're staying or prohibit them from staying at places that are within those rates.
I'm going to give you a more open-ended question, and anyone of you can answer it. And in part, I think of the earned income tax credit. But in any event, people are always have ideas how to use the tax code for more and more things. Hopefully this time around we'll use it for less and less. But historically, congressmen always like to use it for more and more. And I sometimes think when congressmen propose things, they don't think how it's going to look to the Internal Revenue Service, who has to deal with it. Like somebody once came up with the earned income tax credit, and they apparently didn't think of the fact that if you fill out a form and get a $5,000 check, fill out an easy form, a lot of people take a crack at it, which is why the fraud is so high. But do you have any comments on the earned income tax credit, or are there any other parts of the tax forms that you feel invites cheating, or I guess I would say would require you to spend a lot more on compliance than you would want to?
Anything that is a refundable credit has always been a challenge for the Internal Revenue Service. So whether it's the earned income tax credit or the advanced child tax credit, anything that actually is refundable back to the taxpayer. And by the way, there are corporate refundable credits too. They're not just to individuals. Right. They cause us difficulty from a compliance standpoint.
Okay, so when you retire and run for Congress, you're going to take a swing at these things?
I'm not running for Congress.
Oh. But you would take a swing at these things.
I don't know that I'd take a swing at them because, there are reasons for them, I understand, but from a tax standpoint...
From a compliance standpoint, they require a lot of your resources, and the reason they require a lot of your resources is they invite fraud, right?
They invite confusion and fraud, both.
The GAO has reported that EITC does have a very high improper payment rate, and part of the reason for that is the complexity of the code, of the credit itself. It's also self-reported.
Right. It would be easy if one wanted to cheat, to try to cheat, right?
That's one of the reasons I think that IRS does audit a lot of audits of EITC returns.
What happens when you find somebody has gotten a few $1,000s they shouldn't get?
Well, what we try to do is actually find out that before they get the money back. So we do most of those audits that we refer to are pre-refund audits. We do over 300,000 of those every year. So we're stopping the refund from going out on the front end. It's very, very unlikely to get an EITC refund back if it's given to a taxpayer.
Once it's out, it's gone, huh?
It's very difficult to get it back at that point.
Did you ever try to do anything with those people?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever try to do anything with those people? I mean, if it's very apparent that somebody is claiming a credit they shouldn't get, does anything happen to the people who do that?
Well, actually, we bar them from getting the credit then afterwards. If the other thing that would be incredibly helpful would be to have correctable error authority around earned income tax credit because we have to do examinations on all of these. If we had correctable error authority, the process would be much easier to stop the refunds when we saw them.
What does that mean, correctable error authority?
It means that when it's an obvious error on the return, we can actually reverse the credit that's being asked for as opposed to having to do a full examination to be able to stop the credit.
Okay, I know my chairman is indulging me, but, you know, I love this committee.
That's good.
I'll give you one more question. Can you one more question?
You sure can.
If there's one business, refundable business tax credit, or one corporate tax credit, refundable credit that you feel is prone to be given erroneously, what would it be? If there's something comes to mind. I mean, you mentioned it's not just earned income tax credit, they're business credits too.
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to come back to you.
Yeah, think of some so we can. Yeah, and how many of the EITCs percentage-wise that you guys review do you think are fraudulent or erroneous? I should put it that way.
Yeah, because the point that my colleague from the GAO made is this is an incredibly complex law for a very unsophisticated group of taxpayers, and so a lot of the mistakes made are not necessarily fraudulent. They are honest mistakes. And then the other thing that you've got here are not normal nuclear families, so determining who has the ability to claim the dependent, et cetera, all those things are incredibly difficult in this environment.
You're a nice man, Mr. Dalrymple, but I think you're naive. I think they do it on purpose. But
yeah, I don't know that many people would call me that, but I appreciate that, actually.
You're a nice guy, as we say. Okay, thank you much.
Let the record show the gentleman kept us